Hello. Welcome back to the Hello Hair Pro podcast. Happy Monday. What are we talking about today? Today we're talking about the balancing act between work, family, being creative, working in a business, all the not so creative fun stuff that a business requires. My name is Todd, here with my wife and business partner, Jennifer.
Hello.
Hi, Jen. All right, so today we're going to talk about balancing. It started as like creativity in business, and it ended up... I hit the wrong buttons there. Chop, edit, or maybe we'll just leave it in. It started off with just like balancing, work and running a business, which is a daunting task in itself. Mm-hmm. Because when you're at your business, it's very difficult to just work sometimes because you're an owner and things need to get done, or you notice things and whatever. And then I decided to add the work and family in there just because
that's part of it.
That's part of it, yeah. So I said work and business, sort of maybe a little redundant, but I was thinking the creativity and the work as in like technical, like when you're behind the chair, right. And then the work, and then the business as like the work when you're
the business owner.
Yeah,
type stuff.
Exactly. And I think you've got to be able to, you've got to be able to balance this stuff or you're going to drive yourself insane. You're going to deal with all sorts of overwhelm and it's not going to be good. Yeah, burnout. And
it's a big one.
So what are some of the challenges? I think it's like, I'll start. So quick story, when I had my gym, and so I know I'm jumping around, but my notes are scattered again. And they're actually pretty organized. But so when I had my gym, I would go in either in the morning before classes or in the middle of the day to work out, get in some exercise. And I had to teach myself or train myself to just be there to exercise. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, it was like, I need to update this, whiteboard, or I need to clean this, or, I forgot to grab that and put that box away. And if you don't, it like takes away from my workout. It took away from my workout, which you might be like, that's fine. It's a workout. Not really, because it's also taking away from the business stuff because my mind is on working out, but now I'm like putting away orders and stuff.
Right.
But
it's hard to separate.
Yeah.
At least for me, it's really hard to separate.
So I got good at it there where I could go in and I'm like, for an hour, I'm just going to take care of myself and I can get to all that other stuff later. But I want you to talk about some of the challenges you face because it's probably going to resonate with our audience. I think most people listening are probably in the hair industry.
Yeah.
Or have businesses that they work in.
Yeah. So this year, actually, Oliver started preschool and that has helped with, I drop him off. So I get to the salon now pretty early before I take my first client, which allows me to come in not just like a stylist. Like I got to set up, I got to get ready for my client. So it allows me some time now in the morning to go in and I take the first like half an hour or so and I do business stuff. So whether that's cleaning up, whether that's checking stuff in. And then once that hits the half an hour point, now I put my stylist cap on so I can get ready for my day, set up my station, set up my foils, whatever I need to do to get myself ready. Last year or prior, I would just kind of show up like a Tasmanian devil, clean a little, set my stuff up. And I was starting my day very chaotic, which doesn't give me a good workflow. So,
well, no, it's you're setting yourself up to continue with that chaos.
Yeah, and it just became a hot mess. So now 2 times a week, because I drop him off Tuesdays and Thursdays, that is my flow for the day. And it works really well in, I feel like, staying organized in the business and still being able to be a stylist. Also, what I started doing is generally on Tuesdays, which is my first day of work back in the salon, I block out a period of time to do a little bit of work at the salon. So for me, that's payroll, putting in an order, where I used to do that on my off days here at home, which then took away from family stuff. So I've just kind of tried to change my mindset of, yes, I'm in work and those days I'm taking clients, but how do I block out some time to do some business stuff? And it helps me chill a little. and then not do as much of that stuff at home so then I can be present with the family. We also at Hello integrated or brought in a lot of technology. So that really helps me as the owner keep track of things in a very systematic way, in a very simple way. So it's really easy for me to do my orders now because of Vish. It's really easy for me to track things. And obviously our software, I'm able to use that wherever I am to do what I need to do. So that kind of cut down on my time constraints of being an owner.
So there's a lot there to unpack.
Always, right?
Yeah. No, it's good. Sort of jumping around a little bit, but I want to talk about, and you can talk about this too, the like simplifying things. Mm-hmm. I think that's very important. And I think you sort of summed up the entire podcast, and that's not even in my notes anywhere. I just checked, but I think too often, and I don't think this is something I've observed for years, but especially when I was in the gym world. So for example, I would have somebody come in and they would want help, say weight loss. That's a pretty popular one for people coming in. And they have these ideas that their workouts need to be these crazy complicated things. And it holds them back. But at the same, like, I get why they think that, but they're holding themselves back because the majority of people, like, unless you're very specific with a sport or you're training something like CrossFit where you have to be able to do a million fucking things. So a simple workout is probably going to yield the best results for the majority of the population. Mm-hmm. Same goes for nutrition. Everyone wants macro plans and all sorts of timings and fastings. And, you know, if you just eat meats and vegetables the majority of the time, you'll be fine.
Good to go.
You don't require, again, unless you're doing something specific.
That just doesn't sound fancy enough. That's why people want all the other stuff.
Well,
but it's true.
I think from a mindset thing, people want something to blame. Mm-hmm. So when they don't execute, because let's face it, even most people that go to the gym, they don't get to their goals.
Right. Well, we're almost middle of February for people who did set their goals for this year, as we recommended the end of last year. Hopefully you haven't fallen off, but majority of you probably have, because
it's just math.
It's just how it goes.
Most people fall off.
Doesn't mean you can't get back on it, but that's how most people go with their goal setting.
But it's easier to stay fallen off. It's easier to stay down and blame a complicated system.
Right.
Like, I don't have time to go to the gym. Yeah. It's a 30-minute drive
hard
there. Plus I need to spend 2 hours there. No, you don't. You need to move your body. First of all,
more often than not.
Yeah, just start with taking a walk. You have 20 minutes at lunch, take a 15-minute walk.
Right.
Stretch for 5 minutes. I don't know. Do something. Do some body weight stuff, push-ups, sit-ups, squats, lunges, whatever. It doesn't matter, but those are the things that are going to accumulate. And we talk about the accumulation of reps over time,
right, being
your solution to most problems or most things you want to get better at. You just need to put in the reps over time. You don't need very fancy things.
Right.
So if anybody out there is struggling and you're like, it's so hard to run a business, it's so hard to work behind the chair, and it's so hard to have a team that needs me as a leader when I'm in there trying to be a stylist, and simplify things.
Yeah.
Simplify things. Dumb them down and write out a system and then go through and try to take out as many steps as possible. Like, really try to dumb it down. Mm-hmm. And I think you will notice results over time.
Mm-hmm. I think even just writing things down a lot of times will help your mind focus, and you'll see where you can make that more simple, right? But if you're just living in your headspace, it's going to be chaotic and feel very overwhelming.
One of the things I want to talk about is, so you are at our salon whatever days you work, right? Mm-hmm. And we have a young staff that we enjoy. They need sometimes help though.
Yeah.
And so we're a little bit at an advantage for this, but I can see this being a downfall for someone else. And the reason I say we're at a little bit of an advantage is because we built education into our culture. Mm-hmm. Like, we truly built it into our culture, not just say that education is important to us and do online classes. Again, not knocking that, but I think
we do a lot of hands-on
in the real
stuff.
world, like they are two different things. So when you're helping somebody as an owner, there's no way. So if you're working behind the chair, you have a client and someone on your team needs help with formulation, or they need help finishing a cut or whatever. There's no way that you're giving 100% to your client and you're giving 100% to the stylist. So it becomes a balancing act.
Yeah, story of my life.
because sometimes it's necessary. Now, again, we built that in. So we have ways to kind of just slide, around, and it works.
Yeah. One of the biggest things I changed in order to wear that hat of being a stylist and helping lead a team was to stop double booking, right? So when I was taking double, triple clients and my staff needed help, I was about to cry more often than not. And I realized they need help, but my clients need my attention. So, and it wasn't an easy change, but the solution became I needed to somehow simplify my day in order to be able to help and concentrate, like help my clients concentrate on them, but also help the staff, was making space in my day. And I couldn't just carve out, from 12 to 1 every day, if you guys need help, let me know. Because that's, if you're behind the chair, that's not how that works, right? They don't know when they need help.
Right.
So by not double booking, they could see clearly in my day where I would be available and could help them. So they may now come over with a client, like, when you're done, can you come here? And they know that within a few minutes, I will be over to help them. And that really helped structure the salon. It also helped make it more professional and mature. It wasn't like I'm running all over the place like a ping pong ball, right? Instead, my
episode sponsor.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ping pong. And my clients really do enjoy, they love watching the staff grow, and they love watching the questions and seeing our minds work. And now they can watch it in a time when they're processing and it's not taking away from their service. And the staff gets the help they need in a time where they know I have more than just 1 second. And that has made it a really kind of nice transition to be able to educate the staff, help them grow, and still maintain my life with my clients.
Sure. It all really comes down, you sort of summed it up earlier. It all sort of comes down to simplifying the process and creating processes that work for you. So if you are somebody, and hear me out, don't click us off here. But if you're somebody that's running around your salon, you're the owner, and you're trying to work, and somebody comes to you and they're like, hey, the computer's not working, or
credit card machine's down,
the toilet's clogged, or whatever stupid thing happens, because it's business and things happen because it's life. If you're constantly frustrated, I'm going to be real with you right now. It's your fucking fault.
Right.
It's your fault.
I used to take everything
because
like too mumuch too.
Personally,
yes.
You mean? Yeah. So there are so many things probably going on. First of all, somebody's never there. Your employees, your staff, they might be great. They might be amazing. You might love them. They aren't into your business like you are.
Right.
It's not theirs.
And never will be.
And they never will
be.
And that, yes, of course it's okay. They're employees. It's not to say that they don't respect the place or anything, but they're not in
they
it
don't see
like
it like
you. They're not
do.
invested in it. They
Correct.
don't have finances tied up in it. They don't have whatever. You get it.
Yeah.
But what you've got to do is recognize that you're the leader. So you're setting the tone. If you're frustrated, why? You're allowing yourself to be frustrated. Now, frustration is just a human emotion. It's not good or bad. It just is. But when you're experiencing frustration or you become overwhelmed and it's your fault, simplify something.
Right. You got to feel that out and recognize that that's how you're feeling. Because I would have a lot of moments where I'm like, my head's going to pop off my body. Like, oh my gosh. And then now, like, we have a software system that it really helps if the credit card machine is down or the internet or whatever, they can send a payment link. So now I'm not like, oh my God, I got to go over and fix the credit card machine. I'm like, just send them a link. They can pay when they get home. Like, that's something I didn't know our software offered. We looked into it, and there it was. Yes. And it made that software system worth every penny. And when things occur.
Well, yeah, we use those links for everything now.
Yes.
We can use them for apparel. We use them for mentoring. We use them for lots of stuff.
It's really great. But I had to feel that frustration and like, why am I freaking out about a credit card machine? Like, what can help this situation? Because it's always going to happen as soon as I'm applying a color, right? I can't leave at that moment. So now we have a system or a situation that's very easily fixable. I just say to the whoever's up front, send them a payment link, like, oh yeah, great. Okay, cool. And I move on with my day.
Let me give you another quick example of tech that we use at the salon. And it's not even really tech. It's something that most people have access to. We were like, hey, the front sort of desk, we don't have like a front desk staff. Mm-hmm. Everyone checks out their own clients, which is cool. But we would notice that sometimes it lines up where there's like 6 people at the front desk waiting, and you're trying to rebook and you're trying to do all this stuff. And like, how can we simplify this freaking process? Because this is painful. Like I had days where I was standing in line and I'm like, this is not fun.
No.
So we decided to put iPads on the stations and people can rebook right there.
And send payment links if they want to just pay from their phone while they're processing.
Yeah, you could pay. You could pay before you leave. Whatever, whatever works best for you. But we try to really simplify things as well for our clients because it's part of our mission is to give them back part of their day.
Yeah. And that fluidity in your business is extremely important.
So maybe even something as simple as if you're listening and you're like, it's always, this process is always stressful. Like if it has anything to do with rebooking or you get caught up at the front desk or whatever, maybe make it less steps. Like when we go to the front desk, we're not rebooking.
Right. Change it up.
We're just taking a payment and that's that. And then you move on.
Yeah. Especially like when so I've had a client come in and they're like, I need to book my next 3 appointments. I'm like, great, let me get your color on. And when you're processing, we'll sit down together and we'll book those out. So it takes that off my plate. It takes the stress of them thinking about how they have to do that off theirs. And now when they're done, we just check them out.
Right. And sometimes I've seen you like, you'll grab a coffee or a tea and sit with a client and they appreciate that too. Yeah. It's relaxing. That's
the customer service part. And I love that. That brings me down so that I feel more zen.
More zen.
Zen-ish.
Zen Ford. Zenifer. All right, I'll stop.
Okay, thanks.
But it really does make a huge difference. Like when you are running around crazy in a salon. So if you're an owner listening and you're running around crazy, what do you think your clients are doing? You think they're wicked relaxed? They're totally relaxed, or they're there to watch you run around like a spaz. And
when you're in a leadership position, whether you like it or not, people are going to follow your actions, not your words.
Yeah.
So if you're like, don't do what I do, they look up to you. They aspire to be like you. They're going to do what you're doing. So you really have to change your actions and lead the team in the way you want them to basically repeat after you as to what you're doing. And I think I learned that like whenever I switched my schedule to not double booking and all of that, because people are like, I want to be as busy as you. And I'm like, this is not sustainable. I'm exhausted. I'm not eating. I'm eating while I'm going to the bathroom. Like, this is not how this should be.
No.
And I really love what I do and I want to do it in a better way. And I wanted to lead a staff to realize there's a new way to do things and that's healthier. And that's what we've created. But I had to change my ways first. I can't be like, don't do what I do, but listen to me. There's a better way. Because they're just like, I want to do what you're doing.
It's a little outside of the scope of this podcast episode, but we'll talk about the financial part of that too, because I'm sure people are like, if you don't double or triple book, how do you make money?
Right.
It's there.
Right.
It's there. More of it is there.
Yeah. You have to change the whole way you do things, but for the better.
All right. Let's jump into a few strategies.
Sure.
That people can use to create plans for success. So we've got to balance. And remember, we're talking about work, life. This can apply to everything. All right. So the first thing I think is to plan. You have to plan your stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, it's as simple as that.
And you need to write it out, right?
Yeah,
in your head.
I was just thinking, like, how's the best way? But what's good for me is not necessarily good for you. Like, I use my phone. I have notes in my phone, and I use them. It's very organized. It's not just so when I first started out using my phone and not a notebook, because I was a big notebook person. My notes were all jumbled and I would lose stuff, and half of it I would just delete them a year later, right? When you were like, oh yeah, I meant to do that.
Yeah.
Or I wanted to do that. But if a phone works for you, like it works for me, go for it. Scheduling, when it comes to scheduling, we have multiple things because we're managing a business and a family. And all sorts of stuff. Like you're leaving for a week. And so we have our big whiteboard calendar in our sort of recording studio, little office bedroom we've got going on. We have a smaller, well, 2 calendars downstairs. And then we have, phone calendars and whatever. And I know you have a planner.
Yeah. And we have a shared notes app that we use also.
Yes. For stuff like grocery lists and the, I almost said gym, and the salon shop stuff too. So planning and scheduling is a great way to simplify your time because you can set aside like how I want to keep it general. So I'm not going to dive into like specific strategies. If you want to break your days up, like I know some people block their days, like Monday is for creating content. Tuesday, I'm behind the chair. Wednesday is for managing the business. Like if you want to do that, that's fine. I tend to break mine up into blocks of hours in the days. So like my Tuesday mornings, because Oliver goes to school for those couple hours, is my time to work on the computer. So if I have to get any writing done or post podcasts or edit or whatever, that stuff, it's just easier because I know no one's around.
Right.
Except a puppy now, but he's usually pretty chill.
Bowie.
So another strategy is simple, but it is going to require you to have your ego in check. And it's just asking for help.
That's a big one.
When you need help with things or you're overwhelmed or you feel like you could benefit from somebody else helping out, ask.
And so here's where this used to trip me up and still does at times. But since having kids, I've gotten a little bit better at it. I would feel very overwhelmed and I couldn't figure out what I needed help with. And what I learned over time was you don't have to be specific in what you ask for. You can just say, I'm overwhelmed. I need help. Is there anywhere you can see that I could use help? Like you can ask someone to help you identify it. Especially when I had the little babies, people would be like, what can I do to help? And I'd look at them and say, I don't know. And I guess I should have followed that up with, I don't know. Anything you can do would be great. But I didn't. Instead, I kept drowning in all of the stuff. And I'm like, I can do this, but I couldn't. So I think a lot of times we get stuck in, we don't know what we need help with, but that might be asking a mentor, a friend, someone that's close to you, like, hey, I need help. Can you see where I can even get help or what would benefit me? You don't always have to even know what area that is, but asking for it in general, like someone help me. And they're like, sure, what do you need? I don't know. What do you see that I need? And they might give you an idea. You're like, oh, I didn't even think of that. So it doesn't always have to be that you have to even know what you're asking for, but you need to ask for help in some way.
Sometimes it's just knowing that you're not alone. So when you are running around crazy and you're like, problems are stacking up or you have a to-do list that's getting longer, than more things are coming onto it than going off or being checked off rather, I don't want to sound mean, but you're not that different than everyone else. We're all going through that, or we've been through it, or we're about to go through it, because it's just the natural cycle of things. Nobody, I guess, unless you're a monk somewhere, is 100% Zen 100% of the time. What would be the point of practicing any meditation or whatever, right? So I think just realizing that you're not alone, and maybe you need somebody to just be around. So I have a friend, he's a jerk and he moved to Florida, but I have a friend that I would meet once a month for coffee. And a lot of the times we didn't really get much we always started out like, let's talk about our business and let's plan things. And sometimes it was just hanging out and being like, how are your kids? How's your wife? Like, how are you?
Yeah. Just talk.
I've been stressed. How come? Well, I'm dealing with this move or whatever. Yeah, I've been there. Like just knowing that someone's there to listen. And I always left feeling better, so maybe it's just something like that. Find a coffee buddy. I need a new coffee buddy if anybody's looking for coffee buddies. So yes, scheduling and planning, asking for help, setting realistic goals and creating prioritizing your tasks, I think is another thing that helps. It sort of just adds structure. I guess it's sort of like planning and scheduling, or planning and scheduling, but it's a little more tactical when you start to write it out and prioritize things. But I'll do that in my notes as well. And if you're like, I don't really know how to do that to be efficient, try this. And this is how this little exercise I came up with. I'm sure somebody else has done this before. I'm sure it's all over apps or whatever, but so we would have this grocery list and things just get added to it and it's all over the place. So to simplify my process at the grocery store, because I know the layout of the store, I put everything right in order. So when I go through the store, I do a whole week of grocery shopping. It takes me maybe 15, 20 minutes, maybe.
Because your list is organized.
Yeah, because I walk in.
According to the store.
I'm not frantic. Most people are running around up and down aisles, like stressed out. I skip aisles, or sometimes I don't even need to skip aisles. I just walk up and down in case I forgot something on the list. So you get that visual prompt. But something as silly as practicing putting your grocery list in order can translate to maybe planning your meals for the week. Now you have a couple less things to think about.
Right.
You know,
those are creating good habits.
Yeah. You know where your time is. Like, so if you have to exercise in the morning because you're at work all day and then you're coming home to kids and a dog and a husband that all need attention, for example, I don't know who would do that, but, you exercise in the morning. So you put your exercise there. Like you already know. So if you can structure your days and your weeks and your months and prioritize things and put them where they need to go, it helps. It just gives you that peace of mind. Like, I know this day, this time I'm going to the grocery store.
That creates the balance too, right? Because now you're not thinking about all the things you need to get done. You've got it written down. You've prioritized it, like you said. And that really does free up your mind to not be so anxious or stressed out about it. Also, it allows you, if you're planning or prioritizing or making these lists, wherever you want to do that, if something doesn't work that week, now you have something concrete to look back and be like, what did I have laid out? Why didn't this work? And it's a lot easier to build on that and make that better because you have it written out. And so the next week you can go in, all right, I'm going to set this week up for success. I'm going to reorganize some of this. I'm going to change how I do these things. And now you have like a history to look back on and start to really figure out what's going to be best for you for balancing all of that stuff.
For sure. All right. So another thing. So we are a couple. We're married.
We are.
And we work together. So one of the things that we've done, and I don't know when this happened, but we set aside time to not work together. So we're together, but we're not working. And that's very important because living with your business partner is, it's so easy for things to creep in. Like, and you're not really, like I mentioned earlier, you're not really giving 100%.
Right.
So if you're like, oh, I have to book that appointment, you don't have to do it right that second.
Right.
Oh, I have to text this person. You don't have to do it right this second.
Yeah.
If it's your time to sit with your husband or wife, kids, dog, cat, whatever, we have a snake. We sit with him sometimes. But it's important when it's your
you want to
time
that
to
time.
work, your family's not running around your business. So have that time to not work together. If you have a business partner that you don't live with, maybe you do go for coffee once in a while and you do not talk about work.
Right.
Don't talk about work.
Just spend time together.
Yeah. And it's just too easy for your business, especially with technology. Like we have phones, laptops, all this stuff. So it's constant, right? Set boundaries. That's the next thing I had on here. Setting boundaries and delegating responsibilities. So setting boundaries with we have boundaries with ourselves. So we have recently, because our kids are getting a little older, where they can sit and we can have dinner together. And that's a protected time. So when we're able to make it to the table together, maybe that's only like 3 or 4 days out of the week.
Our family dinners are just family.
Family dinners.
Yep.
I don't care if the Celtics are on in the background or whatever.
Right.
That's not what I'm talking about. But we are not on our phones.
Right.
We are not,
we're just present at the table. However,
it's just,
it goes.
It's just eating together. And sometimes, our kids are young, even though I said they're getting older. They're getting to the point where they can sit at a table and have dinner with us.
And that they look forward to the conversation and having the family dinner.
Yes. And we've shown them that even if they don't feel like talking, they're just sitting there eating and they're quiet, that's okay as well. You don't have to tell me about your day if you don't feel like it.
Right.
Like, we don't force things. So just, setting boundaries. And as far as delegating, if you're working with a team, they need to know what they're responsible for. If you don't have an employee handbook, playbook, you need one. You can't expect people to just know what you're looking for. It's not that, I promise you're setting yourself up for failure, because eventually somebody's going to do something and you're going to go, why the fuck would you do that? And they're going to go, why wouldn't I? How was I supposed to know I couldn't do that? You didn't tell me, and it doesn't say it anywhere.
Yeah.
So you need to have those
They're not
boundaries.
Gonna just know.
Yeah, exactly. And you need to make people boundaries. You need to have the systems and your handbook or whatever, because you have to, we were talking about delegating. Sorry, my brain just flipped right there. But people need to know what they're responsible for. If you walked into your salon and everything was dirty, and then you start texting people, or worse, group texting people, that half of those people didn't even work the day before, or whatever, right? But
you've never shown them how to clean or how you want.
Yeah, or you never gave them a closing list or a cleaning list, or during shift work list, or you never gave them sort of the parameters.
And don't be like they should just know.
No, they don't. If you started a new job that was outside of your field, say, or even in your field, how would you just know? If you walk into a new salon, how would you just know their rules? You wouldn't.
Right. Plus, if staff's coming to you from somewhere else, you want to show them the expectations of what your business is all about and what you expect from them. And once you do that, then if they don't do something that you've discussed, I find it's an easier way to have a conversation. Like, hey, remember when we went over that? Like, how I want things done here? Like, I feel like you're missing a few things, but it's an easier conversation because they can't say they didn't know. And you also now are going to start to realize the people that truly believe in what you're doing, want to uphold to your expectations, and those that just don't give a fuck. And then you have a decision to make in that situation.
Right. My mic was off there. So let's dive into talking about some outlets. And I guess this falls into the category of like self-care.
Yeah. Really important.
I think that term gets...
it kind of drives me nuts, but it says it perfectly. So you kind of have to use it.
It gets overused because I think people take it way too far and they take it way out of context.
Yeah. So we'll come up with a new word at some point, but at this point, it defines what you're talking about. And it is really important. Yeah.
So one thing for sure, self-care and outlets, is to communicate. So we have, I'm looking at our whiteboard in our bedroom /podcast studio /office here. And on the bottom in the notes, it says communicate daily. And then it lists what to communicate, like family, personal, business. So I think communication is a big part of either an outlet or a self-care, if you want to look at it that way, because it's important for us to, I guess, know that you're not alone, or to even just to be able to get things off your chest or whatever. Right. So I think communication is a great outlet, and I can always tell when we're communicating really well. We're just like on point. It feels like things are just there. The flow. It happened. I think it was last week.
Yeah.
We had some things all over the place. We had trainings with the dog, and we were setting goals with staff and starting off the month. But there was a flow. We just made it happen. It was like we had to get over here to basketball practice, and then we have to go here, and then there's a game and whatever. And there was zero. I mean, not zero stress. I'm sure there was stress at some point, but
it felt very low because the communication was.
Yeah, I wasn't overwhelmed at all, even though we had a million trillion things going on, because I was like, we structured it to where we had it all planned out, and it was, you just put it in order, how you want it to happen. And so I think that's important. Definitely work on your communication. And if you don't live or have a business partner, live with your business partner, or whatever, communicate with anyone. I don't know, go see a shrink. I don't know what to tell you, but you've got to have somebody that you can talk to, because
for sure
you're going to have emotions.
Yeah.
And again, I personally don't believe that emotions are good or bad. I think they just are. They're just sort of there.
Feel what you got to feel.
Yeah.
And then what do you need to do to move on if you need to?
One that you talk about all the time is to go have a service. So I actually put it in bold here. Go to another salon or shop and have a service. Get outside of your salon or shop to take care of yourself.
It's really important.
And you can do what you want, but one of two things I would recommend is sometimes you're going in for ideas. So it's a little bit of research and development. You always come home and tell me about your experiences at other places.
Oh yeah. I usually get things either I'm like, oh, we got to try this, or I want to make sure we're never doing that stuff, or we need to step up our game on this, because it's all how I feel coming out of that. And that resonates into what we're doing. Exactly.
And the other side to that is that you don't have to do that. You can go into a salon, not tell anybody who you are, and just have a service. Get your hair blow dried, whatever you want to do.
It's fun.
Yeah, just shut your mind off.
Because it's cool to feel like a client that will help you with your client experience or the client experience you want to give for your clients. How you're treated within that will be like, oh, I should be doing this, or I should not be. However you want to look at it.
For sure. And so if you can't do that, if it's not in your DNA to go to another salon or shop and not pick everything apart, or not pay attention, not pick it apart in a negative way, but not notice every little thing, go to somewhere where it does promote that. Like, so go have lunch by yourself. Maybe you're able to turn your mind off. Go grab a coffee. So I've done this a couple times. Grab a coffee, go park down by Robinson Pond. And I would like read a book or listen to a podcast there and just stare at the water. Go get a massage. That's where you can turn your brain off. If you live near a float place, go float. I love the float tanks. I haven't been in a while, but
I'm a salt cave girl.
Salt cave. Yeah. Go to the salt cave, but go somewhere where you can just shut your brain off and have some time to just be. I think that's important.
Agreed.
On the flip side of that, exercise.
Yes.
So purposely stress your body out. Hop on a bike and pedal. Run.
Move.
Walk. It doesn't need to be complicated.
Even 10 minutes. Something's better than nothing. Remind yourself that, because you had said it earlier. Like, you get to the gym, I need 2 hours. Like, I think a lot of people do think when it comes to exercising that like it's all or nothing. And no, it all adds up. So if like right now for me, I'll be honest, I get 10 minutes in the morning. Sometimes it's 7. Like, it's just where it's at. And I used to get frustrated. Like, that's not enough, but nothing is bad. Something is good. So if I can get 7 to 10 minutes and that's where I'm at, cool. And it sets me up really like for my mind to be in a better emotional state for the whole day.
Yeah. And if say you get 10 minutes 5 days a week, that's 50 minutes.
Yeah.
If you got frustrated and you allowed that to rule you, and you maybe got in like, 10 minutes total.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot less. Or maybe you don't do it at all because
once you didn't get that good workout, you're like, I missed it.
Something that you used to do and you've worked on it a lot, and I'm just going to call you out here. We're not live, but I'm going to call you out on the show, is that you would allow yourself to get frustrated, and then you would quit on yourself, and you'd be like, well, if I can't get a good workout, then I don't want any workout.
Right.
And you've grown and you've flipped that on your own. Or maybe I helped. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, over this last couple months, and for those of you who listened to the other podcast, and I broke my foot, toes, whatever it was, I had gone to Todd because I'm like, okay, I can't do anything. What can I do though? And you're like, you can do some weights. I'll put the bench up here. You can sit and do this. Because I'm like, I have to move my body or I'm just miserable. And that sort of like flipped it around too. Like, there was something I could do, and just, what does that look like? Because I'm not sure. I asked for help.
Yeah, for sure. So I think, the takeaways from the episode, I think, is to really simplify your day-to-day things, communicate with other people, ask for help, set healthy boundaries, do your self-care stuff. And I think at the end of the day, if you pair that with not taking yourself too seriously, you'll make progress with the balancing act that is business, life, love, whatever.
Live, laugh, love. I know you love that one.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's such a great saying.
You will, though. I think a lot of you will strive just think like, I want to be happy, but what does that look like? These are type steps that at some point when you start doing them all and you're just like, oh, I feel good. That's because you're doing all of these things and it makes you feel good. You're not just overwhelmed trying to figure it out, but not doing one thing to get any progress.
And remember, it's the balance. It's not, so if you, like we were just talking about exercise, it's so easy for people to fall in the trap of like, I feel good, so I'll just exercise more. And then you get to a point where you're like, if I'm not exercising, I don't feel good.
Right.
Like, don't become hyper obsessed with one thing, or do whatever you want, but just know that if you're going 100 miles an hour in one direction, it's taking away from something else. So if you're truly looking to balance things, find that balance. Like I would always tell people, like, work out so that you feel like you got a workout, but you don't have to be trashed. You don't have to be sore. You don't have to be miserable for 4 days after. You can't move. That's stupid. Because again, you could have gotten another workout.
Right. But now you have to heal.
Now you have to take 2 days off, 3 days off. And that's not a good thing. That's not balance.
Nope.
All right. This episode was brought to you by
Ping Pong
Design and Marketing. If you want to love your website again or find more clients for your salon, shop, or gym business, reach out to Chris and his team. I think that's it, right?
Yeah.
All right. Let's get out of here. Happy Monday. Yo.
Yo.
Bye.